I'd like to call the August 29th meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order, and we'll begin with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'll call for public comment on agenda items other than those dealing with development or rezoning applications.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thomas Delfrat, 4357 West 28th Street.
Which agenda item are you
Well,
referring to?
I was going to talk about stormwater management,
The
Would
two
that be
stormwater
appropriate?
management?
not the
Agreements?
specific issue on 19.
Okay, then, if it's
Where
not
would
an
be the
agenda item,
appropriate
then
time?
it's going to be at the end, Tom,
Okay.
under citizens to be heard.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, we have minutes from our June 27th meeting. If there are no, I'm sorry, we have amended minutes from the June 27th meeting. And then we have minutes from August 8th. Correct?
I'll make a motion to approve the correction, or the amendment, that is, to the minutes of June 27th.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Then we do have minutes from August 8th. If there are no additions or corrections to those, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the minutes for the August 8th meeting.
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. And next we have bills. These are bills stretching back about 3 weeks. If there are no additions or corrections to those bills, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to pay those bills as presented.
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next on the agenda is a small subdivision plan. This is Richard F. Wool, a subdivision plan to show the creation of a 5,000 square foot parcel A to become an integral part of the neighboring property, Erie County Tax Parcel 33-121-522-14, and the creation of a 5,000 square foot parcel B to become an integral part of the neighboring property, Erie County Tax Parcel 33-121-522-14.01, located on the south side of West 51st Street and Tract 348. Mr. Morris?
At their August 1st meeting, Planning Commission recommended approval, and they recommended two requirements, each that the parcels A and B each become integral parts of the purchasers
I'm sorry, become integral parts.
of the property that's owned by the
Okay.
purchasers.
Okay, someone here to speak on behalf of this subdivision plan? If we could have your name and address for the record, please?
No, you have to speak
You're
into
going
the
to have to
microphone,
speak
sir.
when you get to the microphone, please. Okay.
Richard Wall, 5112 West Street.
Okay. Fairly simple and straightforward. Do you have any questions
No.
for us? Any questions from the board regarding this?
I think it's a good idea.
All right. Stand by. Anyone here to either speak on behalf of or in opposition to this subdivision? All right. Thank you, Mr. Wall.
That's it?
That's it. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the subdivision plan as presented with the requirements and conditions placed upon it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. That's it. Next, we have a hearing on a petition requesting a change in zoning classification. This is for Mikhail and Yelena Kalashnishenko. This is for property located on the east side of the 6100 block of Perry Highway, now zoned rural residential district, asking for a change classification to R4 high-density residential district. And Mr. Pierce?
Yes, the planning commission did have a hearing on this and recommended denial for two reasons. One, that it did not meet the comprehensive plan for this area, and there was no sewer or water for this parcel.
Okay, no public sewer or water, and what does the comprehensive plan recommend for,
It would be R1, single-family residential.
which it currently is? Or actually, it's rural residential.
Rural residential right now, that's correct.
Gotcha. All right, someone here to speak on behalf of this request for zoning change?
I don't see anybody other would be, no.
Okay. Anyone who would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition to the requested zoning change? Okay. Questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Pierce, I know we had a rescheduled meeting where the petitioners informed that the meeting was rescheduled to today?
Yes, they were. I actually talked to him on the phone twice.
Okay.
Okay. Any comments from the board on this?
For me.
Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny the rezoning request.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Now, those three affirmative votes were in favor of denying the request. Okay. Next, we have bids and quotations received. The first is a request to accept sealed bids for used equipment. This is from our Director of Public Works, Gary Snyder, who would like permission to accept sealed bids on the following equipment. Well, it's a pretty extensive list. There's about 20 items, mostly older equipment, no longer being used. Anything from air compressors, bandsaws, truck caps. There are some trucks in there. A 1991 dump truck, a 1994 dump truck, 1986. And rather than taking this equipment to the municipal auction, which we have done in the past, Gary believes that we may be able to do better financially if we accept sealed bids for this equipment rather than taking it to the auction. So I would move that Gary Snyder and Joe Yatzer, our head mechanic, be permitted to advertise all of this equipment for sealed bids.
Mr. McGrath,
Yes.
this is the first I've heard of this. Mark, as far as the procedure for this is following the second-class township code. We have to publicly advertise in the newspaper, is it?
Yes, you can, you have to advertise in the newspaper. There are some alternative bidding methodologies, including circulating it on the PSAT's website. There's some other online bid things, Municipal Bid or something like that. And you can use those in conjunction with, but you can't use them exclusive of the advertised bid.
And even when we take it to a municipal auction, that municipal auction, they have to be a certified auctioneer and they have to advertise everything in advance. So, but Joe and Gary seem to think that this may be a more beneficial method. So they want to give it a try.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And next we have from Ashley Marsteller, our Parks and Rec Director, request to have some work done at the Bell Valley Pool. This is for leveling of concrete that is separating from the foundation. She sought 4 quotations from A1 Concrete Leveling, Anthony and Sons, Montagna Concrete, and Mayer Brothers Concrete. The only contractor who was able to supply a quote was from A1 Concrete Leveling, and that was for $5,050, and that includes a 1-year warranty. It is Ashley's recommendation, and I'll make the motion to approve A1 Contract Leveling for that work.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have a series of streets that we're going to be voting on resolutions to accept these as public streets. The first is Resolution 2017 R33. This is a resolution to accept as public streets of the Township of Millcreek, Pebble Creek Drive from the south line of Pebble Creek Phase 2 to cul-de-sac, Shale Lane from the center line of Pebble Creek Drive to the east line of Pebble Creek Phase 3, Pebble Creek Court from the center line of Pebble Creek Drive to the center of the cul-de-sac. And I'll entertain a motion regarding Resolution 2017 R33. And just as a little more explanation, we're required by the state to formally request that these be made public streets in order to receive liquid fuels funding for those streets. So is there a motion regarding the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2017 R33.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. And a similar resolution to accept as public streets of the Township of Millcreek, Allison Avenue from the east line of Shady Knoll Subdivision Number 3 to the west line of Shady Knoll Subdivision Number 1. Kalen Court from the center line of Allison Avenue to the center line of the cul-de-sac. Is there a motion regarding Resolution 2017 R34?
I move we approve Resolution 2017 R34.
Second.
I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have Resolution 2017 R35, a resolution to accept as public streets of the Township of Millcreek, Carriage Hill Drive from the south line of Shenandoah Meadows Subdivision, from the south line of Shenandoah Meadows Subdivision Number 1 to the south line of Shenandoah Meadows Subdivision Number 4, Heritage Drive from the west line of Shenandoah Meadows Subdivision Number 4 to the middle of the curve at Providence Way. Providence Way from the middle of the curve at Heritage Drive to the north line of Shenandoah Meadows Subdivision Number 4. Is there a motion regarding this resolution?
I move we approve Resolution 2017 R35.
I'll second it.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. And a resolution, this is 2017 R36, a resolution to accept as public streets of the Township of Millcreek, Hidden Springs Drive, from the center line of West 38th Street to the middle of the curve at Stillwater Circle, Stillwater Circle from the middle of the curve at Hidden Springs Drive to the center line of Hidden Springs Drive. Is there a motion regarding this resolution?
I move we approve Resolution 2017 R36.
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And a resolution to accept, this is 2017 R37, a resolution to accept as public streets in the Township of Millcreek, Glen Eagles Drive, from the center line of Golf Club Road to the center line of the cul-de-sac. Is there a motion regarding that resolution?
I move we approve Resolution 2017 R37.
I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. And a resolution, this is 17 R38, resolution to accept as public streets in the Township of Millcreek, West 17th Street, from the center line of Harper Drive to the west line of Tracy Acres Subdivision. Is there a motion?
I move we approve Resolution 2017 R38.
I'll second that.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. And finally, what I referred to before about having to have resolutions for the individual streets, we also have to have a resolution for the recording purposes of these resolutions. This is Resolution 2017 R39. This is resolution confirming for purposes of recording and receipt by Millcreek Township of liquid fuels tax revenues those resolutions of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors accepting completion of public streets during the period commencing September 1st, 2014 and ending August 22nd, 2017. Is there a motion?
I move we approve Resolution 2017 R39.
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next we have Resolution 2017 R40. This is a resolution to adopt our special event permit fees. And I will refer to our stand-in solicitor for the day, Attorney Cicini. Or
lead off, and if Mr. Exley in the back would like to add, please feel free to do that with the blessing of the supervisors. Long story short, with respect to our recently enacted special events ordinance, when an applicant for a covered special event makes such permit, they're required to pay an application fee which covers administrative costs associated with processing the special event permit. So in accordance with this language in the ordinance, the supervisors consulted with the Office of Emergency Management, and they promulgated a set fee schedule that they have brought in this resolution for the supervisors to formally adopt as the fee schedule. So that's a little bit of the background. I know maybe Matt, you want to talk about some of how you calculated the fees and that side of things.
Sure. We took each, you'll notice that there are several steps in that fee structure. What we did was we attempted to determine how much manpower hours it would take to process an application like that between the Office of Emergency Management and the various township departments that would be involved. Along with that, understanding that each event is different, we provided base fees for those. Those fees do not include additional public safety assets that may be needed. For example, if during event planning it is determined that the police department needs to be involved and have a certain number of officers there for public safety, that will be above and beyond the base fees of the ordinance.
But that's covered by the ordinance.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and just to read off as a couple of examples here, a small, what you would call a small special event like a neighborhood block party would require a permit fee of $35.
Correct.
You move up, small events less than 500 people, $50. Events between 500 and 1,000, $150, all the way up to the large events, which would have greater than 10,000 people, which we have very few of, but just in case, a fee of $650. And then again, Matt, as you explained, there may be additional fees on top of that if you require police services.
Correct. One thing to note in there is one confusion that may be is the ordinance calls for most special events to be over 500 people is what our threshold is. However, there are some special events that may happen under 500 people. For example, special events that involve the exceptions to the noise ordinance or other specific special events that may have other public safety implications. So that's why we do have that fee in there for less than 500.
And again, we're not talking about things like graduation parties or birthdays or family reunions or anything like that.
Correct.
Those are exempt.
Correct.
It's when you get into the larger events.
Right.
Okay. Any questions regarding the resolution? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2017 R40.
I'll second.
Mr. Grow?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next, we have public comment on our ADA transition plan. And Attorney Cecchini, I'll refer to you again. This is, we're required to have the transition plan and then have the availability for public comment should anyone have any issues. I'll call for public comment at this time on the ADA transition plan. And Cheryl, that's on our website, correct? Okay. And available in hard copy if someone wanted it in our offices. Okay. All right, hearing none, I'll move on to item 18 on the agenda. This is our sidewalk accessibility project phase 5. This is change order number 1. Mr. Morris?
The original contract was awarded to Vavala Concrete Construction on June 27th for the contract price of $122,888. This change order is necessary since 30 ramps were added to help meet the township's consent decree obligations. The change order is funded with CDBG funds. So the original contract amount was $122,888 and no cents. Change order number 1 is in the amount of $51,862. So our updated contract amount for Vavala is $174,750. And with the 30 additional, this means that we'll be completing 155 ramps this summer.
Okay, and it appears, well, it is, a significant change order. Almost a $52,000 change order is significant. And Rick, the reason you're suggesting we approve this is because we have that money available through community development block grant money, and the bids came in so good this year that we should take advantage of them when the money's available.
That's correct. And I might add, too, that this has all been approved by the administrators of the federal monies. It has been approved by HUD in Pittsburgh, so everything is fine.
Mr. McGrath, I believe we actually budgeted $175,000 of CDBG towards this project to begin with.
Correct.
So
Yeah, so
the bids
we're
did
still
come in
within
under,
budget.
and so we fit.
So what we're doing is actually constructing ramps ahead of schedule because we're receiving good prices and we have money available.
Okay,
That's good.
that's a good thing.
That's good.
Yes, it is.
Okay, is there a motion regarding the change order?
I'll move we approve the change order number 1 for the Millcreek Township Sidewalk Accessibility Project Phase 5.
No second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have 2 stormwater management plan, or maintenance agreement requests. The first is for Arby's. Rick?
Yes, Arby's is on the township approved form. They will be responsible for the ownership and the maintenance of the underground facilities, and we recommend approval of the stormwater management plan as well as the stormwater maintenance
And
agreement.
this is for a new construction for Arby's on West 12th Street, correct?
Correct.
All right. Is there a motion regarding the agreement?
Yeah, I'll move to approve this stormwater plan and stormwater maintenance agreement for the Arby's restaurant on West 12th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And next, we have an agreement for Larson Text. This is an addition for Larson Text.
Correct, and they're located on Norcross Road. Once again, everything is on the township approved form. The developer will own and maintain the stormwater management facility, and we recommend approval. This is for both the stormwater management plan as well as the stormwater management maintenance agreement.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the stormwater plan and stormwater maintenance agreement for the Larson Text addition on Norcross Road.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And next, we have the Velocity Net franchise agreement, and I'll defer to our solicitor on that.
So this item here, long story short, under Pennsylvania and federal law, there is a formal definition of cable TV service, whereby the cable provider for municipality has to, enter into agreement, and I'm simplifying this, but pay a portion of their revenues to the township for providing the service in the municipality. That definition, as technology continues to advance and change of cable service, that is continuing to change. And a few months back, VelocityNet has announced that they have plans to, among other things, install some high-speed internet and also some TV services in the township. With it being an open, question of law as to whether VelocityNet's TV service will be covered under, the definition of cable, such that they would need to pay a percentage of their revenues, we reached out to them, the township did, kind of speaking to if they would be willing to enter into some agreement to pay revenues to us from their subscription service. And they agreed to, pay 5% of their revenues, same as, Time Warner, now Spectrum does. So it's just in the best interest of the township to kind of keep that consistency and to get those revenues come in. So this agreement was prepared. It was reviewed by an individual attorney who specializes out of town in this licensing context. It's been recommended for approval by the solicitor's office here. It's already been signed by Velocity Network, and it's
It's now up for the supervisors for their review. But long story short, it just continues to provide the 5% revenues from subscription services that Velocity would have for cable services in the township.
So it keeps in line the new service being offered by VelocityNet with the existing contract that we have with Spectrum.
Absolutely, yes.
So no one has an upper hand or...
Correct, yep.
And what they would be paying would only be for the video portion?
Just for the video portion at this time, correct.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Personally, I think it's a good idea, especially in light of what Spectrum has been pulling here lately, and of course the problems that seems to be annually with Dish Networks and all those, where they refuse to work with our local TV stations. And of course, as I said, with Spectrum, this latest thing where they're now going to require people to get digital boxes, it's just getting to be outrageous. Although I understand that may have a 1-year free period, and then it goes to $6 a box. I think it's getting ridiculous. So if we've got some good, honest competition here locally, I think it's a great idea.
Okay, is there a motion regarding the agreement?
Yes, I will move to approve that agreement with VelocityNet.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Next, we have the July building construction report. One of you fellows gonna-
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Unless John wants to do it.
Feel free, John.
Okay, thanks. July of 2017, the construction report, one new single-family home and a mobile home for a, let's see here, and the additions, a total value, construction value, $455,000. Under the commercial end, there was a total of $782,000 of construction value, therefore a total of $1.2 million of construction value for permits issued in the month of July. A copy of this is available at the zoning and planning office, and I think it will be online later this week. So feel free, if you need to get more specifics about it, stop by and get a copy of it.
Okay. Thank you, John. Communications, Mark?
I have nothing.
John?
Okay, yeah, I've got several of them here. Give me a second to get them out. Let's see here. The first one comes from the Fire and Emergency Medical Services Commission. This was brought up at the Fire Commission meeting last week. There will be a course sponsored by the State Fire Academy. It's Fire and EMS Administration course. It'll be held on Saturdays, September 16th, October 14th, and November 11th. And this is where there'll be somebody from State Fire Commissioner's office up to the Kearsarge Fire Department for a day of instruction of fire department administration. This is not the nuts and bolts of putting out fires. It's more of the how do we run a department, equipment purchase, and so on. Anyway, there is interest among the Fire Commission members, so I'm asking that if we can cover the cost for the tuition. It's $100 per attendee, so we're looking at 10, so it'd be $1,000 to send anyone that's interested in going. It looks like we have a pretty good consensus of commission members that want to go. I know I would like to attend it too, to get more knowledge about this. So I put that in the form of a motion to approve the tuition for up to 10 attendees to attend this for those dates I specified.
Mark, I'll refer to you. Where would that come from in our budget? Do we have an education budget, or do we have for the firefighters?
We'd probably end up splitting depending on who all is participating. If they're township employees, it'd probably go under, we have a training budget for, say, administrators.
Correct.
And then we'd probably put it under fire department support for the tuition we'd be paying for them.
Okay. So there would be a line item that we could
Yes.
take that money from? Okay.
Right, yeah, keep in mind, we have 3 citizen members of the commission, and then there's 6 fire departments.
Right.
And of course, I have Millcreek Paramedic Service, myself and Mr. Shaw. So I think, but not everybody was going to be able to attend, so that's why I said up to 10.
Up to 10?
10 people who attend, so. Anyway, as I said, put that in the form of a motion.
Okay. Is there a second? Is there a question?
Oh, it's the first I've heard of it. I'm just looking at it right now. $1,000 is a big expense. Mr. Exley, what's your thoughts on this?
The course itself is, the name of it is a little misleading. It would give good background for some members of the commission as far as how these organizations run. So as we continue to try to streamline their operations, I think this would be beneficial. Unless Mr. Groh has received any additional notices, though, the only individuals that I've been notified of that are interested is myself, Mr. Groh, and Mr. Shaw so far. The rest of them are supposed to notify my office if they are interested, though.
So we could still hear from them.
There is a possibility.
Right.
Okay.
They're waiting for approval is what they're waiting for to see if they can come.
All right.
All right, I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. John?
Okay, and I have one more training request, and this is from PSATs. There is a course on HR management, and the subjects, there are 5 topics that we talked about. The year in review in regards to labor law and employment, creating a positive leadership and employee accountability with the public sector, managing the employee with mental illness, what first-level supervisors absolutely need to know and regarding to evaluating employees and reward workers, and the municipal workforce of the future. The date of this class is October 5th in Cranberry Township, and myself and Diane Lyons, the HR director, would like to attend at a cost of $100 per and the use of the township vehicle to go. Just a one-day class.
Okay.
So I put down a form of a motion.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
Okay, I commented about the Spectrum cable there. Something that later this week you'll see an ad in the paper, a legal ad. The Millcreek Township Board of Auditors will meet next Thursday, September the 7th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. For those who are not familiar with what the purpose of this board, they are the board that sets the pay and benefits for the Board of Supervisors. They did meet, as always required under law, the day after we reorganize, the first Tuesday of the month, or first Tuesday of the year, that is. And so they met on a Wednesday. They did not have any conclusion of how they're going to set our pay and benefits, but they have asked for this meeting to be set. So I just want to let everybody know that ad will be in the paper. And it is an open public meeting. It'll be upstairs in the conference room. And like I said, open to the public if there's anybody interested in it. So it's our in our way performance review. Excuse me, one thing. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. One other thing here from Matt Exley, fire code official. 2 things. Request to add the following people as duly enrolled emergency management for volunteers to assist with the EOC for use during special events. Both have incident commands training, and they have gone through the criminal background check. Number 1 is Dave Wellman, ham operator, a communications unit leader, and Charles Kennar, also a ham operator and communications unit leader. So we want to make that in the form of a motion to approve the appointment of those 2 volunteers.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Chairman, probably any public comments. Is that on the agenda?
It's on there.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just didn't put it in there. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, is that the emergency management request?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
The amended agenda from yesterday.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion, second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Okay. And I have one more here too from Matt. Request permission to attend the Governor's Emergency Preparedness Summit from September 30th through October 2nd at the Hershey Lodge. Cost will be $375 for lodging, and it is a budgeted expense. This is a required conference that Mr. Exley can maintain his coordinator certification. Of course, you'll be using a township vehicle for that. I put down a form of a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, we have also from Ashley Marsteller, our Parks and Rec Director, would like permission to have her fall season part-time employee list approved, and it's a very extensive list, so I won't go through everyone's name, but this is available in both Parks and Rec Department and in our administrative offices. All employees would be at the appropriate rate, and I would move approval of that list.
And I'll second that.
Mr. Grove?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And I'm sorry, folks, but I don't have when we had our executive sessions. Does anyone have that? Cheryl, would you happen to have those dates? I don't even know.
We had to change a couple of them around there.
Yes, we
due to
did.
the schedule. Can we come? Yeah, next
All
meeting.
right, we'll have a list of those for the next meeting. I'm sorry. Usually just look at our calendar. Okay. John, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Attorney Cicini, anything else?
No solicitor.
Cheryl?
communication.
Rick? Matt, anything else?
No, sir.
Chuck? Citizens to be heard. Tom, now you're on.
Again, Thomas Delfrat, 4357 West 28th Street. Let me begin by complimenting and thanking the township for their emergency response and aid to those who were affected by the June 18th storm that dropped 5 inches of rain in a very, very short amount of time. The township's willingness to cover the cost of cleanup and mitigation for those properties and houses that were damaged by water was greatly appreciated and very much needed. In addition, advanced disposals efforts truly made a difference, as did Matt Exley's Emergency Management Coordinator, John Blows, Township Sewer Departments, and the local volunteer firemen who all provided support during that stressful time. Well, I've spoken to you many times in a different capacity. I think this is only the second time I've addressed the supervisors as a 40-year taxpayer in Millcreek. And because of that, I'm just not a squeaky wheel needing a little bit of oil. I'm here today because the township and PennDOT need to keep the stormwater management issue in that 28th Street neighborhood a priority. Your initial efforts in cleaning out the tubes north of 28th Street and the watershed ditch which carries the output to 26th Street was a good first start. Actually, last Tuesday would have been a very appropriate night for a meeting after that storm we had, and I can tell you that the drainage was mitigated. I mean, even at the bottom of Contessa and Madeira, which would have normally been under 6 or 8 inches of water prior to that clean out, had minimal backup. But the problem still exists. The main issue still exists, and that's that 42-inch tube stub that leads underneath 26th Street. That tube's being fed by a 48-inch tube and a 60 by 40-inch tube. It's simply not adequate. I'm aware that Supervisor McGrath and Township Engineer Rick Morris are working to resolve the problem with PennDOT and Region 1 Executive Bill Pettit, who I will personally contact and make communications with regarding the issue. I also know that the project does take time, and I, along with many neighbors, just need assurance from the township supervisors that your efforts are going to continue with this problem and they won't just be put aside. We need a proactive approach now, because every time a storm like next Tuesday happens, I know I go into a panic, and I know that a lot of the neighbors are here go into a panic as to what's going to happen. I've actually asked my wife twice to move the car out of the driveway to the top of the hill since then. In conclusion, I just want to thank you for your time, but just let me know, let the neighbors know what we can do to keep this moving forward. I want to thank Senator Laughlin for his support and the neighbors who are here today. But my presence here today is to thank you, but also to make sure that we keep moving forward with this project, because that stub needs to be enlarged or in some way able to handle the total capacity from those other 2 feeders.
Well, I can give you and neighbors and the senator a little bit of an update. In conversations with Engineer Morris, PennDOT has been in contact with us. They are looking for additional survey information, which we are to provide, which we're working on. Once that gets to PennDOT, then, correct me if I'm wrong here, Rick, but then it goes to their engineers to see what kind of a design they would recommend, correct?
That's correct, because we can't just look at upsizing the pipe underneath Route 20, but we have to also look at properties north, downstream, to see how that will impact them. So it's not as easy as just going in there, ripping out pipe that is of a smaller diameter than we would like to see.
And what you probably remember, Tom, at the meeting that we had down at, I think it was at Westlake School, the conversation regarding this issue centered primarily on the fact that the pipe going under the railroad tracks, when you get all the way to the north, is, I think it's a 24-inch pipe. So now you're sending, even if you just upgraded that pipe to 60-inch under 26th Street, now you're sending that water down to 24, which is going to flood that property. Now that must have been taken into account, whatever, 75 years ago when that 60-inch pipe was put in. But if we're looking at something larger than that 60-inch pipe, whether it's an additional pipe or enlarging that 60-inch, now you're talking about even additional flows. So in our initial conversations with Bill Pettit, there is the distinct possibility that there may be land acquisition that's going to have to be, that's going to be necessary to do that project, which makes things more expensive and more time-consuming. But in the meantime, our next meeting with Bill Pettit, we're going to discuss how we can, at least for now, more immediately, get that back up to the full 60-inch capacity. And then look at how we're going to proceed from there with adding the capacity, because like you say, you've got 2 big pipes going into, even if that was 60-inch pipe, you've got 2 large pipes going into it.
Yeah, and I totally understand, of course, with our relationship with Milk and understanding the complexity of stormwater management. No one in this room, I think, is looking for a quick fix. We're just looking for a long-term plan that will be addressed, because not only in terms of do I rebuild my basement or not, but also long-term and resale value for our properties. I mean, I have a very, very nice piece of property that all of a sudden becomes cheap if it's going to flood every time there's a big rain. So we're looking for a long-term solution. We're looking for a solution. We just want to make sure that it stays a focus and doesn't, just wander away.
As this progresses, and I anticipate it's going to keep moving at a steady pace, we'll keep you and your neighbors updated.
That would be great.
As to how things are moving along and just what the next phase will be.
And in addition, like I said, contact me if you need information, because I'm pretty much the pipeline to the other neighbors. Whatever you need from us, we are willing to contribute. Even if it's, just keeping an eye on and letting people know. Like I know John told me, Lowe's, that as soon as it happens, call him so he can look at it and see what's going on. And those are the kind of communications that we just need to have.
We want to see where the water is originating that's creating the problems while it's happening.
Okay.
Believe me, the last thing, Tom, the last thing any of us want to see is having anybody with problems over there. And it was awful to see what you guys experienced. And of course, yourself as a former construction manager with the school district, you know that the time for design is just so frustrating. It's like, what the heck's taking so long?
I understand.
Because, it's my own wish is if that plan was ready, we'd have a backhoe over there right now.
Correct.
And work on it till it's done.
Right. And I don't think anybody in the neighborhood expects any kind of resolution like that.
Right.
Like I said,
I would like to see that.
Yeah, but it's, keep it. I know how many projects happen, and then all of a sudden a project like this becomes slower because there's so much else going on.
Right.
That, You know, in my mind, when I was working with the district, I had focus, and
Right.
even though it was going to take a long time, that project of focus was getting moved as fast as it could.
Right.
So that's what we're asking for, that this doesn't
Yeah.
become a lesser priority, that it gets up there with the rest of the important ones.
Well, you know, as the old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, but then again, we weren't the construction managers either, so, you know.
No.
So
But
hopefully
thank
we
you
get
for
this
your help,
done
though.
soon.
It was greatly
Yeah.
appreciated, and
Yeah.
I want to send a personal thank you out there to Mammoth, because they did a heck of a job.
Yep.
with my
Yeah,
pass.
they did. That was quite a job, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? Morning, Senator.
Dan?
Hello, everyone. I think everybody in here knows me, but I'll state my name just the same. Dan Laughlin, State Senator, 49th District. I got involved in this issue because some friends of mine live on 28th Street, and I was actually down in Harrisburg the day the flood happened, but I saw it shortly afterwards. And I also have a fair amount of construction experience. I have experience with stormwater retention and everything, so I felt it might be appropriate for me to come and speak. And, you know, Tom Delfrat's house was severely flooded, and I got to give him credit for being as amenable, I guess, as he is when he was standing up here talking. I don't have that kind of patience. And I physically looked at what I felt was the problem. I think everybody in this room can agree that the 42-inch pipe is choking down that flow that goes under Route 20. Now, I don't know who put that pipe in there. I'm not going to point any fingers, but the pipe is there. There's a 60-inch tube that runs under Route 20, and you know, I think stormwater calculations probably have changed over time since they built that road, but I can assure you they didn't get less. So I'm going to give the PennDOT engineers, you know, kind of the benefit of the doubt when they built that road 50 years ago, that they did some calculations. And I'm also going to say that since we know the 42-inch pipe is a problem, for the life of me, I don't understand why it's still there. And I don't know how long you guys have known it was there, but I've known ever since Father's Day this year. And I can tell you that, you know, if you go there with an excavator, you could have it out in a day. And if, you know, it'll be September here shortly. We could get another rain like that any day. And I will say to you, if a kid drowns or somebody gets electrocuted in their basement, it's going to be on you. So just remember that. And, you know, it seems like such a simple fix to me that you could go there tomorrow and dig that pipe out if you really wanted to. And that's what I think should be done. You know, you can argue about the PennDOT engineering and buying land and all that down the road, but I think if you pull the 42-inch pipe out, it will at least get your necks off the hook for any kind of liability if somebody gets hurt. So, you know, I did a little bit of math. I'm not an engineer like Rick here, but I think he'll back me up on this. A 42-inch pipe is exactly 50% smaller than a 60-inch pipe, and I think that's playing a huge role in these people's neighborhood was basically turned into a stormwater retention pond, okay? And, you know, I feel really bad for the people whose houses got flooded, and while I was sitting there, I came up with another acronym. It's PTFD. He has post-traumatic flood disorder. Has to have his wife move his car every time it rains. That's just sad. So I implore this township to actually do something and call your road crew. I know you have excavators. Get somebody over there and dig that pipe out. I talked to Tom McClure from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. That's the guy you would have to see to get a permit to tamper with the stream. And you know what he told me? He said, given the circumstances, they will give you an emergency permit. They'll do it in a day. So this needs to happen, and it needs to happen right away. Okay.
Rick, the 42-inch pipe that the senator is referring to connects to a 42-inch pipe, correct?
Yeah, if we look at the pipe from the north end, it's 60-inch reinforced concrete, commonly referred to as RCP. Then as it proceeds south upstream, it turns into a 48 and then a 42 RCP. Someone connected 42-inch HDPE, that's the black plastic corrugated that we're commonly seeing nowadays. So there are a number of different pipes in there, different types, diameters, and we're dealing on private property. We have a private property owner on the south end that has constructed a wall, and there's a number of things that need to be done before we can gain access to the pipe. The other thing we're looking at is the grade. It would be best if we could acquire additional grade from the mouth of the upstream pipe, or the invert, we call it the bottom of the pipe, at the south end of the open channel. We would like to link a grade providing positive fall to the north so that we could have better conveyance from the pipe just north of 28th and Contessa, all the way down.
Because that's pretty flat right now. It's
Yes,
very
it
flat
is.
right now.
Well, actually,
There are some areas where it flows the wrong direction.
it's 4 inches higher on the north end than it is on the south end. So yes, we're looking to see what we can do. And the only way you can do that, even though we televised it and we have different angles and we have this and that, the most accurate way to do it for what we need for construction purposes is to survey it and to see that. And it's in a tube. Our surveying instruments don't work that well, so we're looking at using a laser that we normally lay pipe with. So yes, we are looking at different things. We are working on it. And of course, we need to work with downstream property owners also.
But my point here, Rick, is, number one, it's going onto private property,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Number two, somebody put in a smaller diameter pipe than 60-inch, and isn't some of that in state right-of-way?
Yes, it is in state right-of-way. Yes.
So, Senator, we would have a hard time going, number one, going onto private property without getting permission, and number two, working in state right-of-way. We've done that before, and they really frown on that. Without getting a highway occupancy permit. So if your office is able to expedite that in conjunction with PennDOT, and DEP, you know, we're ready, willing, and able to jump in there.
Yeah. Let me ask Rick Morris something. Hey, Rick,
Yes.
in the situation with that channel behind Joe's Gym, which is just further to the west, we experienced a lot of grief. We wanted to go in there and clean that out because there's a problem there. And what did we experience? Like the Fish and Boat Commission and DEP was all over us. And
Yeah, that was back in 2009, correct?
Right, but threatening arrests and all
Yes.
kinds of stuff that we
Yes.
were cleaning out without a permit, but we needed to do it.
Right. And it took us over 9 months to obtain a permit from DEP.
Yeah, just to clean a
And it's
channel.
a perpetual permit, specifically because we asked for that. We
Right.
know that we have problems there so that we can clean it.
Right.
So now we have that perpetual permit.
Yes, we do.
We do,
So we
but
don't
I'm
have
just
to go
saying,
in.
this is the sort of stuff that, you know, that we're trying to deal with here. I mean, it's not an excuse, but it's just an experience that we had here.
I think what we're getting at, Senator Laughlin, is we appreciate you stopping by, but it'd probably be much more
I'm not
constructive
done, John.
conversation
I'm
that we
not
could
done
actually
yet.
accomplish something if you gave us a call and meet with us to actually work out these issues with state agencies. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that comment, John. I'm not done talking yet, though. How long, here's the question. How long have you three supervisors known about this problem? Just since Father's Day?
Yes, for me.
No. This has been going on
That's been
for
flooding for years.
3 years, yes.
Okay? So don't tell me that you don't have the permits in place. And if you don't, it's because you guys haven't done anything. You need to get off your butts and make that happen before somebody gets hurt. You understand? It's pretty basic management. You know, you've known about the problem and you didn't do anything. So I know you're the new guy, John, but he's been here for years. So to sit here and look at me and say, well, you need to have your office help us get a permit, that's ridiculous, okay? You're flooding these people's neighborhood by leaving that pipe in there. You need to go dig it out, and PennDOT is not going to hassle you if you don't touch their road berm, trust me. So Thank you.
Okay. Rick, I guess with the senator's comment. Now you did it. I think that we're going to have our solicitor give us the either thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether or not we go onto private property and start digging. But as far as the state pipe, I think that our next meeting with PennDOT will be able to make a lot of progress there because we don't have to wait for their go-ahead. We can just go and do it. So
That's the case, we could expedite it.
that
yes.
could really be expediting things, and we'll make sure that Bill Pettit is aware of that.
I
Tom?
do have one question that came up from the discussion, and it's this, it really kind of does amaze me. Both Rick and you have said somebody put that pipe in. How can you not know who put that pipe in there? You say somebody. How can you not know who put that pipe in
Well,
there?
when we're talking about going from 60 to 48 to 42, and it's in the state right away, and it's concrete pipe, the township hasn't used concrete pipe in at least 40 years. We are guessing, and we don't know this for certain, but we are guessing that the 60 to 48 to 42 had to have been done by PennDOT.
Well, how can I research that? Because whoever put that pipe in ultimately started the problem and is at the source of the problem. And as Senator Laughlin said, knowing the problem's there, you now have taken on that burden. I mean, I don't understand how we cannot know as a township who put that pipe in there. That would be, I mean, that now has taken me from amicable to a little bit frustrated. Because I know if I was over across the street working with you guys and I didn't know who put a pipe in, the first thing I'd have been told is, go find out who put that pipe in there before we go any further. So tell me how to find out and I'll find out.
Well, that's what we have been having that discussion with PennDOT, and they are also doing some investigation to find out if it was them, when it was put in, and why it was downsized.
Correct. They looked back to over 20 years of permitting, and they could find no record that they had. And a permit like that does not come from the township. That comes from DEP and PennDOT if they're working within PennDOT right of way.
Right. Chuck?
Hello, Chuck Felix, 2744 McKee Road. I live in the same neighborhood we're talking about now. Two things. One is on the first subject. I've heard something from two different sources, so this is not firsthand knowledge, but I live right on the corner, the northwest corner of 28th and McKee. Directly across McKee Road, the northeast corner is Torelli's. And I've heard from two different sources that the house next to them, and I don't know the people's names, there's an open channel in their backyard, and they're putting grass cuttings, trimmings. In the fall, they put their leaves all in that channel, which is going down and clogging up pipe that we just paid $50,000 or more to clean out. So I would like to ask that if the street, I wanted to go look, but it's private property. I'm sure there's a right-of-way back through there, but I don't know
Not
where.
necessarily.
See,
No.
I don't know. So I haven't gone back there, and this is secondhand knowledge, but I would appreciate if somebody from the streets department went back there and see if in fact this one neighbor is throwing stuff into the open trench and causing more harm.
It wouldn't be surprising, Chuck. We have that all over the township. Drainage conveyances that we don't have, whether it's easement or right-of-way. It was done years and years ago when the developer put these in, and the neighbors used them for their dumping grounds. And it's real unfortunate because it does nothing but occasionally floods themselves out, but it also floods out their neighbors.
All right. And so I, as a private citizen, don't want to start walking through people's backyards, but if the street department
This is
would-
east of McKee?
Yes, it's on 28th Street. It'd be the second house east of McKee Road on the north side.
28th Street?
On 28th.
side.
I can tell you the Torellis live right on the corner.
Yeah.
But I've heard from two different neighbors that have seen and watched this guy do this, and I just want that to stop so it doesn't cause more problems.
Thank you.
Okay. Back on the original issue about that 42-inch pipe. I mean, everyone here that has looked at the situation that knows what the problem is. Somebody put that 40, and it's not very long. It's only like 10 feet, right?
No. No, I can't recall what the 42-inch RCP length is, but there's 117 feet of 42-inch HDPE.
42 or 48?
42,
42, okay.
correct.
But that, I do not believe that I believe, in my opinion, is all on the Millcreek, it's out of the state right away. And in my experience with PennDOT is they will not do any work out of their right of way. If they have to do work beyond their right of way, they get the right of way first and then do the work. So I do not believe PennDOT put that pipe in there. Someone did. And if
We're confusing. I just want to make sure that you understand, Chuck, because the 60-inch pipe goes to about the edge of pavement, correct?
Very close, yeah.
And then there's 48-inch pipe still within the township, within the state right-of-way.
Yes.
And then there's 42-inch concrete also in the state right-of-way, right?
Right about in that area, yes.
Okay. And then it switches to the plastic after that.
Well, I know, if I owned a piece of property that was flooding, and I put a pipe in and diverted all that flood water onto my neighbors, that the sheriff would show up soon and make me rip that pipe out. Someone purposely put a bottleneck, and I don't believe it's unreasonable to assume they put a 42-inch pipe in there to stop from sending so much water over to the other side of the street and flooding the trailer court. So in effect, what they've done is tried to stop the trailer court from flooding. They're flooding us, which is totally unacceptable answer. And Rick and you guys say, well, we have to see what we're going to do downstream. Well, the whole idea is they shifted it up to us, or whoever put that 42-inch pipe in, a downstream problem. They shifted it. They didn't cure the problem. They just backed the water up. And I'd like to repeat what Senator Laughlin said. Basically, it made our neighborhood into a retention pond. You know, if you think about that, you're exactly using our neighborhood for a retention pond. And whoever put that 42-inch pipe in my opinion, if there's not permits for it, if it's not a legal pipe, there's no reason to rip it out of there, or not to rip it out of there. I mean, that's the whole thing. And with all respect to Mr. Delfrat, he said, well, we're not looking for a quick answer. That's wrong. I am looking for a quick answer. If I go home tonight and it's going to rain, I got to watch. How much is it going to rain? Do I have to sandbag my garage? So, like I said, for PennDOT to buy land and build a retention pond on the north side of 26th Street and do all that would take months, possibly years. This problem can be fixed in a week.
Well, again, I don't want to repeat myself here, but that, as far as purchasing land downstream and a detention pond and all that, that's if that 60-inch pipe was upsized to something else. If it goes back to a 60-inch pipe, we'll have to confirm this with Bill Pettit, but if it goes back to a 60-inch pipe, I would have to imagine that when that 60-inch pipe was put in, that they took all of that into account, what it was going to do downstream. So going back to the 60-inch pipe should not require all the additional land acquisition and needs for right-of-way downstream.
And yeah, and the whole pipe under 26th Street is already 60-inch. That could stay. I mean, we're not talking about digging up 26th Street here. We're just talking about where the 60-inch ends now, getting that up to 60-inch. And even if you get that little piece of, get that 42-inch out of there immediately, the difference between 42-inch and 48-inch doesn't sound like much, but that, just getting the 42-inch stretch out of there, which is probably all off the state right-of-way, that's enough to help. But the end product we're shooting for is to get up to the 60-inch. We'll let twice as much water out. And again, this, it just seems every time I've talked to supervisors, and well, you got to talk to the engineer. I've talked to the engineer. Well, we got to talk to PennDOT. We got to talk to this, and it keeps like all the information fragmented. To get everybody together. In other words, we should have a meeting, I think, with PennDOT, with the supervisors, the township engineer, hopefully Senator Laughlin can make it, and the neighbors. And if we all sat in one room and talked about this problem, we could come up with a plan and a solution. when you spend time fragmenting the information, and it goes a month between this two people talking about it, time goes by and nothing gets done in a hurry. And I know this township can do things fast. When we had the flood, within a week or two, we gave away a $55,000 contract and cleaned the pipes. How did that happen so fast?
Well, cleaning the pipes and designing a stormwater system and working with DEP and PennDOT for permitting are two very different things. I mean, you understand that, obviously, but.
Right, but I just heard Senator Laughlin said he talked to the DCNR and they would get an emergency permit. I mean, why did it take him to find that out? How come I couldn't find out from the township people who've known about this problem for years that we can get a permit anytime we want to from the DCNR?
Well, that's news to us. That's why it's good to hear that.
All right, so we need, again, I don't, you know, the path we're on now, to me, is taken way too, it's way too fragmented. It's this guy talking to that guy, who then talks to that guy, who then, and it takes too much time and everything, you know. Someone, whether it's you guys or ourselves, or can call a meeting and tell PennDOT, hey, we're having a meeting on September 3rd. We want you there. They will make it, I'll bet you. And tell you guys that, and tell Senator Laughlin, and tell the neighbors, and get everybody together in one room and get this thing moving, solved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I am Jim Barrickman. I live at 4268 West 28th Street, and we moved in there in February of 1979. So we've been there 38 years. We know all about what's going on back there. We've been flooded at least 3 or 4 times. Now, we started this project of trying to get this fixed back in 2004. I have all kinds of pictures that I brought to this meeting showing how the water back clear up over our motorhome, which is back there. You know, this 42-inch pipe was extended recently from the street on to the south by at least 40 or 50 feet. And now that's going to make it much more difficult to get up there with a larger pipe. And another concern is if the grade isn't right, if you're 4 inches higher at the street than what we are back at the end of the pipe, that's no help. I know they've come through and they've dug out that creek a few times. It's going to help. It's going to move the water north, but it's not going to go through the pipe. So,
just to make sure that you understand, Mr. Barrickman, when you said 4 inches, Rick, there is 4 inches of fall, but it's over a significant distance.
It's 520 feet.
So 4 inches over 520 feet, you can say that's flat.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. It's actually negative.
So what Rick was suggesting is whatever is done at 26th Street, we want to be able to pick up grade so that that water is able to travel more quickly from your neighborhood down to 26th Street. And there would be a less likelihood of debris and such collecting in the creek bed.
And if it's a larger pipe that has the same top but a lower bottom,
that would be tremendous.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we need.
That's what we want.
So
yes.
Let's not discuss this for another 2 or 3 years. Let's get it started. That's what we appreciate.
We will keep it moving. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay. Just one quick question for Rick Moore. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jerry. I'm sorry.
Take it away with me. I'm retired. All I can do is bother you. This will take 2 seconds. Gerald Cervidio, 1720 West Gore Road.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, this problem isn't unique just to their neighborhood. I mean, these guys should realize back in '96, over in the subdivision by 79, they had a basement cave in, walls cave in. So, to me, if you're going to have a meeting based on flooding concerns, then it's just not their neighborhood that gets covered. It's everywhere that gets covered. That was a big rain, I know that. But I have another question. It's a street-related concern, so I don't know if it's who I should talk to about it. You, or you? Who's on my side of the
I
road?
think it's about reclaiming, so I'll take that one.
All right. So they grind the road up, lay it back down, then they add on top. So you add on top, you raise the road, where's the water go? Back into the yards. I called this morning, talked to Rick about it. You know, he says I have to talk to streets. Okay, talk to streets. So I had that happen over on Conway. They still laid it down. The water still goes into the yards. So basically, I'm not saying you guys. I'm tired of this. We've let all these situations get out of hand collectively. We ignore other people's concerns just for our own. So my only issue is, how do you solve that problem? If you lay it back down, you add 2 inches on top of it, you raise the level of the road. The water is not going to sit in the road. It's going to sit in the yards.
Well, we don't want the water to sit in the road.
Yeah.
We don't want it to sit in the yards either.
Yeah.
We put in storm sewer on, you're talking about Haven Street?
Yeah, Haven and Conway. Now, while you're on quite a few roads up there.
We put in storm sewer. When you raise the level of the road, it does not increase the amount of water.
Sure.
It may change where that water has gone before, but the idea here is we're going to come back when it's done being reclaimed, which is just the base. We're going to put asphalt on top of it.
Yeah. How much?
2 inches. So you're going to be 2 inches higher than where you were before the process started. But in the meantime, we've put in storm sewer, and now we can direct that water with the asphalt to those catch basins.
Sure.
Keeping it out of the yards, directing it right into the storm sewer where it's supposed to go. Now, nothing works as good as ditches. People don't like ditches, but nothing works as, I don't want to jump on the engineer here, but Rick, am I correct? Ditches are better.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Okay, you don't have the problem with people having water in the yards if there's a ditch in front of their house.
Sure.
But we put in storm sewer on several of those streets over there, and now the idea is when we pave it, now we're going to be able to pave around those catch basins and direct that water into the catch basin and out of the yards. Now, if there's a specific area that you think is going to be too high when they're reclaiming, I spoke with our Public Works Director just before a meeting. He said he'd be happy to be over there.
Sure.
And take a look. We very rarely have to remove material when we reclaim a road, but it can happen if it's going to create a problem when we pave it.
Well, I mean, you can use my own road, for example, how high it got raised, the sides of it. If you think, remember mine got raised quite a bit?
Yep.
So effectively, what it did to my house, and this is my own fault because I stayed there and bought the place, my house is low. I was ignorant to the fact, you know, when I bought it that it was low, but then when you guys raised West Gore down by me, the edges, basically out into the street, you raised the crown of the road. The crown was already high, but the water used to stay out to the road. Now it comes off Conway. I won't say necessarily off Haven, but it washes down and across and comes across my yard into that catch basin, which you guys installed for me, which was a great help between my house and the neighbors. But I mean, to me, lifting the road creates quite a bit of problem, and I'm just concerned about it.
Well,
I just want you to know I'm concerned.
We don't want the road to be used as a conveyance for stormwater. We
Sure.
want the water off the road into the storm sewers.
Well, you think you'd put a little edge to keep it on the edge instead of
That's what we're
washing
doing. When we pave it, the water will be directed towards those catch basins.
it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
All right.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 10:47. We're adjourned.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.